Welcome everybody to the Tiny Room, our new episode this week. Extremely excited to have our next guest, Tess Rodrigues, and I am excited to let her introduce herself. But firstly, I'm Lucinda Jane Valentine. I'm the lead therapist and owner of the Tiny Room Counseling and Therapy Group Practice here in Cape Town. Our physical location is in the northern suburbs of Cape Town, but we also see many South African clients around the world virtually. But yes, let's get straight into it. Tess, welcome to the Tiny Room. Extremely excited to have you in the hot seat. But yes, Tess, tell us a little bit about why are you sitting in front of us today? We've got some amazing topics or points that we're going to get into, but and I know you're going to give your background as to kind of what's on your heart and why you're sitting in front of us today. But you and I have known each other for quite some time, and I'm also inspired to listen to your story a little bit and have the mental health side of things kind of threaded through and weaved through. But Tess, you obviously said yes to being a guest today, and I'm intrigued, putting you on the spot. I'm intrigued as to why are you kind of keen to be here and be a guest on our podcast? I mean, what is it about the Tiny Room that you love?
I love everything about the Tiny Room. I love what your approach to mental health. I absolutely believe in what you're doing. And yes, I'm honored to be invited as a guest. I think I am a normal, average mother, businesswoman, entrepreneur that has been hit with a huge tragedy. I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis in March 2014. And in literally 6 years, I became completely disabled. So I went from a very active, independent, dynamic person to one that is wheelchair bound. I cannot move my hands, cannot feed myself. I cannot scratch my nose. Do you people know what a privilege that is, to be able to scratch your nose? I can't do that. So because of multiple sclerosis, and I think the way I handle this disease, I think, is what you are trying to buy into and see if maybe through me I can inspire other people.
Yeah, you inspire
to
me.
Deal with.
Yeah.
Thank you. To deal with their mental issues, to deal with their mental health. So yeah. But yeah, let me give you a little bit about a background. As I said to you, Lucinda, I have always been fiercely independent. I believe in doing things. Just hold on for me. Hold on. I accidentally pressed something. Okay. I am fiercely independent, and I always believed in doing things 110%. And before being diagnosed, I was doing boot camp. I ran my business. I was a single mom. I put 2 children through, or the one was finishing varsity, and the other one was about to enter varsity. And then it was so strange. I was doing Zumba. I always loved dancing. So I was doing Zumba. And in my mind, I knew how to do these fancy steps. I mean, I could picture it in my mind, but physically, nothing was happening. I was out of rhythm. I couldn't move the way I knew I. That was one of the first signs. But I thought, I'm getting old. This is what happens to people when they get old. They lose their rhythm, they lose their mojo. It's normal. This is what happens. And then at boot camp, that's where I started to think, but something is wrong. I started tripping over my feet, jumping jacks. You know how to do a jumping jack, but you started fumbling. I'm like, open your legs. No, the legs don't open. Open the arms. No, the arms don't open. Climbing upstairs, I kept tripping over my own feet. And that's when I realized something is very wrong. So yeah, I am from a very fit person. I sit in front of this, go see a neurologist. And I sit and I go through a whole lot of tests and trials and things. And he turns around to me and says, you've got progressive multiple sclerosis. He says, it doesn't look good. You are possibly going to be disabled within a year. And that was a shocker. That turned my world completely upside down. I mean, can you just imagine, you're a healthy, independent, fiercely independent person, and all of a sudden you're going to be disabled. And, you know, I often think, how do people that have an accident, for example, deal with it? Because for me, I think the advantage for me was that I saw myself gradually becoming more and more disabled. Started with falling. So funny. I did a renovation here at home, and every time I came past the builders, I planted my face on the ground, and they goes, whoops, there goes ma'am. Ma'am, can we help you up? Then the builders would stop, pick me up, and then I'll take 2 steps and I'll plant my face again on the ground. Because I kept tripping over myself. Sure. So, yeah, by November, my biggest emotional uphill, or where I realized that I am having an emotional breakdown completely, was in November 2015. 2014, the same year that I was diagnosed. I wasn't suicidal, listen, that's a very clear distinction I want to make. But I didn't want to live.
Yeah.
You know, that I wanted to fall asleep and never wake up again. I lost my mojo, I lost my appetite to live, to continue. I just didn't want to live. I didn't want to do the suicidal, but I think suffering and pain, I did that already when I delivered my kids. I don't want to do that again. I'm not into all the suffering and pain, but I just didn't want to live. And I think important is to recognize that something is wrong, and that is okay. That you don't have to be superhuman.
Yep.
And that is okay. And that's what happened. I immediately picked up the phone. I phoned my neurologist and I said, something is not lekker. This is not just not physical anymore, it's now mental. There's an issue here, help.
Yeah.
And he booked me into a hospital immediately. I said to him, I'm scared. I'm not a type of person that has these thoughts of death, but I'm scared at what is happening. So he booked me in, and he did put me on antidepressants. And I never wanted to be permanently on antidepressants. That's something I didn't want. But bring on the meds.
Yeah. Yeah. There's a place for it.
There's a place for it. And I'm telling you, you do not want to know me if I am 2 hours late with my medication. No, my personality changes completely. I just become, I will find reason to dislike you. I do, and I can actually feel it coming. The minute it comes, where it's like, did you give me my meds? I start asking all the carers, have you given me my meds? Have you given me my meds? Because I can feel it coming. Total irritation, total change of personality. So that was very important, was seek help when you realize something. Don't think you're a superhuman. Don't think that just because you need help that there's something wrong. It's not. It's an illness. It's something that's not your control. I mean, you don't think you're any less if you cut your finger. So why do you think you're any less if you depressed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that gave me a complete new perspective, and I accept that I cannot do life without my antidepressants, and that's what I do. What I also find that helps me cope with this is actually allowing, believe it or not, myself moments of sadness, where I say, this is my moment where I'm howling at the moon, where I cry. I cry for the loss that I suffered. I cry for, so I give myself, when I feel it coming, I don't stop it. I give myself a good opportunity to wail.
Good
and
stuff.
Like really cry.
Yes.
And I feel sorry for myself. Please bring me the chocolates and put me in bed and cuddle with me, because I'm not really feeling sorry. And then once that is over, I can confront life again. So I don't bottle up. I don't do it. I don't cry all the time by no stretch of the imagination. But when I feel the need, I allow myself the chance to have a good wail and have a good cry. And I think one of the things that I know you teach or you counsel very well in your therapy session is loving yourself.
Yep.
And
liking. You gotta love and you gotta like yourself. We always say you
gotta I like the like. I often say you can love something, but you don't necessarily have to like it.
Yep.
I like the like, but and that to me, because one of the things that I did do, Lucinda, is once I was diagnosed, I did a lot of research as to why are people getting ill. And there's no doubt that the world we live in and the pollutants and the food we eat and the lifestyle we live is making us sick. So where I could, I changed everything. I changed the way I eat. I no longer dye my hair, as you can see. I've got grey tinsels all over my hair. I don't wear makeup. I am clean living. And that comes into effect of loving yourself enough to be.
Love it.
To be clean, to just be as natural as you are without needing to change the human that you are. And that was to me a very profound lesson that I learned. And I don't need to measure up to the next person. I don't need to look any better. And in the process, believe it or not, I feel, that's me, hey? You might disagree, but I feel I am looking younger and better than I ever did.
You've got the most amazing skin. No, Tess, you look amazing. You look amazing. Every single time I see you, you look younger and younger every single time.
Yeah, and that has come from you know what, I love myself enough, or I like myself enough not to do me harm. Not to consume stuff that I shouldn't, not to try and change by coloring and painting and things that could harm my body. And that was for me a big change as well. And in the process, you start loving everything else as well. It's amazing. In the process of loving you start loving others. You start loving nature. I have got such a passion for what we have done to nature and how we can rectify, because the harm we have done is reflecting on us.
No, it's true.
and suffering because of it. So that I found very profound lessons that I learned through this disease. And it's a challenge, but yeah.
You're being very humble because I just let me know if my connection drops at any point, okay? Because, in South Africa, it's special with Wi-Fi at the moment. But anyway, so please just let me know if I need to stop. But Tess, I know you're being very humble, where a lot of our viewers won't realize that you run two businesses and they're not, small fry businesses.
Three
And
now.
oh, goodness. Okay. Well, there we go. And you've always inspired me that, your physical self doesn't hinder you in any way, shape, or form. Your mind is still as sharp as ever. And I value that because as long as I've got my mind, got my brain healthy and doing its thing, we can delegate and we can get support and we can create capacity maybe in the physical to do what we need to do. But you bossing the entrepreneur, the female business world. And it's always just inspired me that I get up and I'm like, why am I complaining? Yeah, I've got this amazing friend of mine who, like you said, can't scratch your nose. I'm always there to scratch your nose, my friend. Like those sort of things. And I'm like, why am I? Yes, I have a down day and I do the crying. I get you. Yes, I tell all my clients, please, this is the space. Cry. Do that ugly, snotty, that ugly looking cry. You need to do that every now and then. Go watch a sad movie, get it out, But some days I'm just having a woe is me, and then I think of you. And I don't always mention your name because, privacy and confidentiality just in general. Keep everybody's names out of my conversation. And I'm always speaking about my friend who, has I almost want to say, I don't like saying disability. What's another term? I mean, there's so many different ways of saying
I'm fine with disability because it is. That's what it is. Call it by it what it is.
Yeah, I know some people's terms are quite creative, and I always like, oh, that sounds cool. But yes, the disability of not being able to use your hands.
A challenge.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And it's very much a challenge, but you've got your support, but you're still doing such an amazing job with your businesses. And I'm like, Lucinda, like what, this shouldn't be a challenge for you, able-bodied, can scratch my nose, can, the pain that you must have been going through for quite a long time, changing your whole lifestyle with eating. I know you and I are constantly sharing notes on eating clean and, taking care of, because sugar has a huge effect on me from an inflammatory point of view. And we know you and I share notes on that and the effect that has on your immune system and the autoimmune side and the detrimental stuff and all the rest of it. We won't get into it in this episode, but I'm thinking of the details of your journey, and you've overviewed it, but thinking of that mental health and dealing with that depression, but also understanding pain, and I'm sure there's some nerve pain there. And yes, you've got meds and bring on the meds, but I'm thinking to myself, like, there's something in you, and I know you're a lovely, different human being that I just love being around, but what do you do when you are having that type of pain? Because I know what I needed to do, and I fell short a lot. Nerve pain is not muscle pain. Nerve pain is not a headache. Like it's a different pain. And you've probably had other types of pains also. How the heck did you continue?
You know what, Lucinda? It's also becoming vulnerable. That's huge. That was huge. Yeah, I am this fiercely independent woman that is not coping so lekker anymore. And recognizing that and becoming vulnerable. Oh my word, that was. Now, in order to cope, you asked me, how do I cope? I allow people to do things for me, and that was huge.
Oh, I can imagine for you, yes.
That was huge. I mean, allow people to cook for you. I loved entertaining and cooking. My absolute passion was in the evenings putting a meal together. I loved it. And I can't. So now I've got someone who shares that passion, Lynn, who works and stays with us. She loves cooking. And guess what? It's like, Lynn, let's try this. Have you tried that? Oh, I can smell that. Smells good. Throw some of that in there. Getting somebody else to do what you can't do anymore, and allowing yourself to be vulnerable. There's so much lessons I learned. Number one is that definitely being vulnerable was huge for me. I mean, people have to dress me. People have to clean me when I go to the loo. I mean, that's reality.
Yeah.
And allowing that was for me huge. The other thing that I think also helped me to cope is putting myself first and foremost above everybody else. And I don't mean that in an ugly way, Lucinda.
Not at all.
Because I do make myself, and I wish I could be more to other people, but when you can't, you can't. You don't sacrifice. Stop being a martyr. Can I tell that to the world? Stop being a martyr, for goodness sake. You don't need to sacrifice in order to be loved.
Yeah.
You need to love first yourself, and the love will flow naturally. So now, if I'm not having a good hair day, that's what I call it, a good hair day, and someone says to me, Tess, we want you to do this, I am not going to sacrifice beyond my capabilities in order just to be liked.
Oh, 100%. We advocate for this, so preach it.
That's why I'm so in tune with your therapy, because those therapies are the things you are practicing in your therapy is like, hello, I'm living testimony. That's how I cope.
People pleasing, not into it. I'm not into it.
Not into it. I cannot. If, for example, let's say I am eating clean and I don't, because of inflammation and the effects it has on me, I am not going to go into a person's house who doesn't eat clean and not take my own food.
Yeah.
Forget it.
Yeah.
I don't mean to insult you, but I have got to take care of me. So please, I would love your company. I love your company, but I'm bringing my own food. Not that I don't dislike what you're cooking. I just can't eat it, and I have to look after myself first.
Or we say no. You know, like my husband and I will say no, and people will think, oh, we'll drink water when we get to people's homes, and they're like, oh, you guys at the water again. Oh, yes, you're on a health buzz. And I'm like, okay, now we're on a health buzz. Okay, this is just our lifestyle, but okay.
Yes, absolutely. Put yourselves first. Don't try to conform to others. Don't try to put your I like this. Be integrity with yourself first and foremost. And you don't have to explain. You don't have to give reasons for being. Just be true. Be true to yourself wherever you are. And that for me is definitely a winner in coping. If I'm tired and you say to me, and I love entertaining, I love having people, but now with this condition, Lucinda, I told you by 2:00 I'm like, ooh, I'm scraping the energy levels, you know, like scraping the barrel to talk, to be able. So you know what it's like. And if you say to me at 2:00, Tess, I'm coming to visit, no, you're not. Because now I am scraping the bottom of the barrel just to keep, my energy levels up. So please don't come and take more of it. And it's not because I don't love you. I do, but I just can't, and I need to recognize my limitations
Mm-hmm.
and be true to me and not regret, oh, why did Lucinda come to visit when I was so exhausted?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? And yet
Able-bodied
Lucinda,
people, my energy
yes,
levels, I know my times of day where I've got the best functioning me, and I obviously dedicate that to certain activities. And I'm somebody that I know my limits too, being an able-bodied person, and I have to
yes,
say no to a lot of things because I want to be a master of a few things instead of a jack of all trades. So for me, I want to
yeah,
invest that energy wisely. But we
yeah,
clearly know how to put boundaries in place. And I mean, maybe you've
yes,
learned that in the hard way because of going through this MS journey. You had
yes,
to kind of like hard and fast put some stuff in place. So there's maybe been some benefits to it along the way, and
yeah,
saying no to stuff, and those lessons might not have been learned being an able-bodied person until, like with me, even with my health issue in 2019, having chronic muscle spasming and the nerve compression and ending up in hospital on morphine. I still till today have to watch. I'm still in rehab 3 years down the line, and what stress does on my muscles and what certain foods do on my muscles, and I don't want to go back there. I lost all the
absolutely,
feeling in the left side of
absolutely,
my face and in my arm, couldn't use my left hand at 33. I didn't have MS, but people don't realize that your nervous system and your muscles and trauma and neglect, all these things,
yeah,
I mean, health, hey? Your health, physical health, knocking your mental health and that connection,
yeah,
and even your mental health affecting your physical health. And you, to me, like your whole story and your whole way of being is a testimony to every bit that you're saying now is just jumping out because I want everybody to hear every word and take it on board, even if you don't have MS, even if you don't have a disability, even if you're fully able-bodied. Keep it that way.
yes,
Listen to what you
absolutely.
say.
Absolutely, because it is the environment, the stress levels, the trying to be everything, the trying to be perfect, the trying to measure up to the Joneses, whatever it is that drives us, that's making us sick, mentally and physically. It's
Yep.
making us sick. So
Mm,
stop it. Stop
mm,
it. And yeah, and I think that these are, oh, you know what? MS is a terrible disease. Terrible, terrible. But I have learned so much of being that I can almost say, okay, lesson learned, move on. Bring me my thing back, my life back, but I wouldn't have it without MS. I
oh,
learned so much. You know what I'm saying? So much, there's just so much appreciation of life, so much appreciation of me that I've learned because of this disease. And yeah, I don't think I would do it without MS. But now the lesson is learn, move on, give me my, give me my mojo back.
yeah. Well, I
But
think it's very, very much there. I think it's just in a different outfit. It's.
yeah,
I just
it's
think that you
true.
bossing, and we say it a lot at the tiny room, go boss your life, or people, certain people are bossing their lives and go live your best life. But I think even though you've put such great boundaries in place and you're protective over your yes, I'm kind of ruthless. I have no expectation of others, and I hope that nobody has expectations of me. But at the same time, I have no sense of obligation. So I know it sounds quite hardcore, but
Yeah,
I am protective over my yes, and I want to keep myself looking young for longer. And I think it's got a lot to do with not having stress. I'm honest, I get overwhelmed and stressed quite easily. So I need to put things in place to balance my week out. I'm in an industry or in a profession that is intense. You know, we don't deal with, oh, I stumped my toe and I had a bad day. We deal with self-harm, suicide, you know, high level stuff. And I have to keep that balanced in my own personal life and my own mental health and physical. The physical fitness and health is not quite there yet, but we're getting there. But I'm thinking of so many questions that I have, and you know, I don't want to take away the gold from your story. So I'm just going to throw some of the stuff out there where I think the viewers are going to be intrigued by is, you know, how does Tess run businesses? You know, having a disability, having such a like a severe level of MS. I know you've got help, obviously, but you had a business basically before it got this progressive, but then you took on other stuff, and I'm like, what in you? Like, tell us. I don't know how to explain it. Like, you can explain it, but what makes you go take on another two businesses?
Believe it or not, look, I do think, Lucinda, I do think that I come from a family, and I think that's very important as well, that I recognize the principles that I was brought up with. I come from a family of fighters, go-getters, and not necessarily highly educated. You know, it wasn't people, my folk were beyond poor. I mean, we arrived in South Africa with the clothes on our back. We slept our first night at Maitland Station. I mean, but we fought and we survived, and we never gave up. So that is the history behind don't give up. Okay, so as long as my mind was healthy, which it is, that's the strength. Look at your strength. That's what I want to tell the world. Find what is your strength. Find your mojo and then work on your mojo. For example, Linda's my carer here. She's highly intelligent, but her passion is in being creative. And I so love watching her putting things together and just she doesn't have to, she's bright enough to run a business if she wishes to, but she doesn't want to. So why do it, you know? So that's what I want to say to them. Focus on what your talent is. And my talent is definitely having the mind for entrepreneurial, definitely having the go-getter attitude, what do you call it? It's I can win, a winning attitude. It's but it's also, you know, I don't give up. I will try and try and try again, and I will learn from the mistakes. But I will get up tomorrow and do it. Try again. You know, it's the persistence, having this persistence. But definitely, my mind is definitely something that is the winning formula, and so I nurture that. I feed it with good stuff. I learn. During COVID, and that's what started the second business, which led to the third business, was that during COVID, I saw that my first business was going to suffer. I mean, it was in the property financing. No one was buying homes. They weren't going to look at homes. And I thought, I better do something to get this business stabilized very quick. So I took a marketing course during COVID. And through that marketing course, I identified the opportunity of doing Durbanville classifieds. Was through the marketing course, I identified that this is lovely. Everybody should be marketing like this, but not everyone can afford it. So what other platform can one create? No, not everyone can do search engine optimization. Not everyone can afford to pay Google advertising and that. So what else can they do? And that was the birth of Durbanville Classifieds. That if we can, within our own community, support each other in small businesses, then it's a win-win situation, a formula for everybody. And so that's the birth, why it was born, was because I fed my mind. I learned something new when there was a challenge.
Yeah.
And that is important. So identify what your strengths are. I mean, your strength in dealing with therapy and the problems and seeing it deeper than face value.
Yeah.
Which I think you say, let's deal with the noun of the past, but the way you see what is there now,
yeah,
is an absolute mind-boggling strength, and that is what you've got to harness. So everyone has their own strength, be it a person. My sister, for example, my sister's strength is being there for others. She is so good with loving people and doing things for others and dedication to helping. That's her strength. And even though she's an accountant, she practices that in that industry, which then places her head and shoulders above her competitors, because it's that caring that, yes, I'm doing your books, but I want to see you thrive. I want to see you getting out of this position. I want to see your business grow. I want to nurture you into growing. That places her head and shoulders above the next. So no matter what it is that you do, there's a strength in you, and you've got to nurture that strength in all that you do.
I'm just thinking on you talking about, the feeding of your mind, and, that you're keeping that mind sharp and using that for all these beautiful things that you are doing. But at the same time, it's what you said about your sister on loving people and, putting people at the heart of everything. And those two together are, and just in closing, we've got just like a minute or two left. So I just want to put these two thoughts of yours together, where it makes me think of our therapy process here, where, like you said, we start with the now, and we don't work our way back, but as our framework is kind of like, or our process, or we call it a journey, our therapy journey here, as it unfolds, we'll see what comes up, traumas and things from the past. But people are struggling to do life now, like you have your disability now. Yes, it went through its own process, and you had to go and deal with things along those seasons, and kind of like the levels, or whatever you want to now call it. But clients that come in, they're struggling to deal with life now, and there are layers to that. But the connection between that mindset and that, decluttering of the mind, and the diffusing and getting that mental information down, but at the same time putting people first. And a lot of the time we get so fixed in therapy, and a lot of people, or not a lot of people, but a lot of private practices or group practices or practitioners or therapy frameworks are very fixated on the mindset and the rewiring of a thought pattern and all the psychological, but we forget about that human element of the realities of the environments, of the physical. And that's why you are also a guest, because you're touching on everything. In our therapy framework, we deal with the physical, the environmental, the behavioral, which is your actions, your choices and decisions, and then the emotional, and then the psychological also. These 5 elements, these 5 aspects. So it's important, and that's therapy. Counseling is more short term. It's 3 to 4 sessions. It's physical, environmental, and some emotional. The behavioral and the psychological doesn't get really unpacked and rebuilt in counseling. You need a little bit more advanced scope and longer journey. So that's why I love doing the therapy at the tiny room, and then we've got our counselor. And especially therapy with preteens and teens. I absolutely love it. But keeping it fun, keeping it exciting, you know.
Important for preteens and teens to get it. I think if you could take should be part of their curriculum.
Yes.
You go to school, you go and see therapy.
Yeah.
It should be, because I'm telling you, the amount of stuff that needs to be unpacked for you to just cope with studying, with life, with teenagers. It's so fabulous that you are going from, I'm a child. I'm not quite yet a child, but I'm expected to have the responsibility of an adult. And I'm still trying to deal with all this hormonal changes and the responsibility. And yes, and there's nobody to guide me to do this.
Yep. It's so much fun. But Tess, in closing, sorry to cut your word. I'm just wanting to bring it back to your, you know, your journey. I'm just thinking of you in business, you being a mom, you being, you know, in the physical space that you're in, but still bossing life. You talking about feeding your brain, you know, keeping yourself in check, not only with reaching out and getting the mental health support that you need, be it with, firstly, you knew your diagnoses and kind of like what was going to take place, you know, and putting in the mental health care support, be it with the meds also. But you are doing also your own input at learning, keeping it fresh, balance, using your mind and not just taking it for granted, because that's what you've got is this beautiful brain that I keep on telling all of my clients, it's the biggest muscle in your body. Why wouldn't you hydrate it? Why wouldn't you want to feed it well? And, you know, stretch it, you know, when you build muscle. So with the reading and the researching and learning and that curiosity, be childlike with your brain. And can be fun and colorful in our own way. You don't have to be the artist that goes and paints or makes sculptures or that stuff.
And you know, Lucinda, sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
Be open. Be open. My goodness, a closed brain learns nothing new.
Oh, sure. True.
So be open. Be open to, I always say to people, challenge me. Challenge my belief systems. Let me think beyond my nose. Challenge me. And that is what people need to do. Besides feeding, they need to be open. They need to be open to new thought, to new things, and so that they can grow and make their own decisions. Sorry.
I love it. I absolutely love everything that you said. But Tess, I'm going to finish off our sessions, our episode and our session together, because I feel like there's so much deepness, but at the same time, so much practical stuff that we're going to leave our viewers with. But everybody watching, thank you for being with us. But in the description, we will have all of Tess's details, how to get hold of her, how to follow her. You know, she's got so many amazing things out there, digitally, you know, online, but at the same time, you know, touch base with her, send her email, send her encouragement. If you stay in the Durbanville area or in the northern suburbs, I'm pretty sure you'll see her about. But you can definitely connect with her. But Tess, thank you so much for sharing your story and being so vulnerable and open. And I look forward to having you back towards the end of the year. But it's been really fun.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. And thank you for recognizing something that I take for granted.
Yes, no, we love you and we are very inspired. I mean, I'm inspired, like I said, every day, just having you as my friend, and just for how many years that we've known each other, that really just convicts me and kind of keeps me accountable and on my toes by Come on, Lucinda, up your game. Tess is doing 3 businesses now. What is up, So thank you, Tess, for being in my life. Thank you for advocating for the tiny room and being a guest today. We love you, and we will see you really, really soon. Bye to everybody. Like, subscribe, share. Let's get it viral. Let's get it out there. And yeah, send Tess some love by commenting underneath this video. But we'll see you all real, real soon. Lots of love, guys. Bye.